So their Spider-Man engine evolved out of their Tony Hawk engine. Neversoft wanted their titles out there on these other platforms, and so they were very helpful. Their top crew came into our studio for some time, I don't want to, a week or something like that. Our Treyarch's engine was designed to be able to export out and create for all of the various main platforms. After that, when we were able to have webs actually connecting to buildings and all of that stuff, we're back now over in Treyarch's engine, feeling like, okay, we're back home. We know that our own stuff.
So the Spider-Man 1 and 2 PS1, were all their movement mechanics and assets already currently existing on that engine by the time you got it to make the third game?
Yeah, their engine was so their Spider-Man engine evolved out of their Tony Hawk engine. It wasn't like they went and sort of created a whole, they kind of are starting with Tony Hawk and the mechanics of the jumping and the moving and all of that stuff, and then kind of turning that into into a Spider-Man game. When we were brought on to do it, we're given their Tony Hawk games, their Spider-Man games, their top crew came into our studio for some time, I don't want to, a week or something like that in the beginning, just for a hands-on, here's how you load things into our engine. Here's how resources have to be packed. It was just a different process, as far as exporting things out of a given art package and how you get that in, how the game graphics are set up and all of that. So, it was a learning curve. They wanted it to be successful. They wanted their title, Neversoft wanted their titles out there on these other platforms. And so they were very helpful, in giving us information and guidance and training on their engine and support I think as best they could, considering that they were making their own Tony Hawk game at the same time. So, we had to learn their engine. It was, quite a bit different, and it was, by the time we got it, it was pretty purposeful built in the sense that, a little bit like the cartoon, Spidey's webs go off, straight off the top of the screen. And, certain mechanics, because it came from, its guts and the, of it was from Tony Hawk. It was manipulated to kind of create a Spider-Man game out of it. And so all of the character animations, the polygon limits for what the characters would be, all of that stuff was already sort of pre-dictated for us within the engine of what it could handle, in the way that the game logic, the way you could set up, different mechanisms within the game, was already kind of there. And it was just a matter of kind of learning their process for developing stuff, and then trying to, get it going and get it working inside their engine. The idea was that, as we liked our own engine at Treyarch. We, Spider-Man 2, the movie game Spider-Man 2, the sequel to the game that we're talking about, was done with the Treyarch engine. It was only this one game that we did for Spider-Man in the Neversoft engine, was this first one. After that, when we were able to have webs actually connecting to buildings and all of that stuff, we're back now over in Treyarch's engine, feeling like, okay, we're back home. We know that our own stuff, and we can develop within it, and we just liked our own engine better. I mean, that's not a unique thing. Like any game company that has kind of their own engine has probably a lot of pride in it, and familiarity, right? You really want to be able to kick it out and make some really awesome stuff. And so when you feel like your game engine, how to push that to its limits. Where if you're learning someone else's engine, you're kind of just trying to glean the engine and hopefully it doesn't crash and this will work kind of approach. So that's really where it was at. So yeah, we had all of the resources from Spider-Man 1 and 2. We had the code. We could load things in. We had training from Neversoft. But yeah, and then as we talked about, it became, it sort of evolved into this movie title very shortly thereafter.
Yeah. So whenever because I think that I might get the date wrong, but the PlayStation 2 would have been released maybe a year or two before that. Whenever you were assigned to make Spider-Man 3, was it for the PlayStation 2?
I believe so. I mean, the thing is, I made games my first game shipped on 7 floppy disks for PC. And so I was a PC video game artist for the longest time. And then eventually I shifted into consoles and I did, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 3. And so, and all of the various different Xboxes. So for me, it gets a little bit muddled because, again, we were doing ports, and our Treyarch engine was designed to be able to export out and create for all of the various main platforms. So the GameCube, the PlayStation 2, and the Xbox. And so we could export and deliver on those 3 platforms pretty much simultaneously, which was one of Treyarch's biggest pluses for being sort of a port house and getting these opportunities or whatever. We weren't a port house, but I mean, we had the ability to create games and get them out on these various different consoles. So
if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, support the channel on Ko-fi and Patreon. And if you didn't enjoy the video, like, comment, subscribe, support the channel on Ko-fi and Patreon. Right, good luck.